So I'm going to click through the show here with you guys and talk about the difference between food chains and food webs. Primarily in elementary school, you may have done food chains. We had kind of a nice and neat and tidy one like this that was just kind of in a line and everything just went along, and sun gives energy to plants, and this eats this, and this eats this. That's why I have up here one path. It just follows one path, that energy flow, as it moves through there. So all food chains and food webs are always going to begin with the sun as the start, the source, the beginning of all that energy flow. And that passes all of its energy on to that lowest level, those plants, or the autotrophs, as they talked about in an article we read. Those don't need to consume. Those just get their energy straight from the sun. The process of photosynthesis, they're able to make their own food. And then as we go down the links here, we get to this first level of consumers, the herbivores. These are the ones that primarily just eat plants, nuts, seeds, berries, only plant eaters, kind of the vegetarians of the forest here. And then we move on to our next tier. We have our tier 2, secondary consumers, and this might be some omnivores in here as well. They'll eat some stuff from this area, some stuff from this area. Your second order of consumers, and then you get to your top area, your apex predators, your keystone species from that video that we talked about as well, on this end of things. So just to kind of show that energy flow too. So if the sun is the source of all energy in the food chains and food webs, the farther you get away from the sun down this area, the less energy there is available. Some animals will lose that through their digestive process, through waste, through just their bodily functions, just from living, the energy that they need to stay alive and move and things like that. So these end of the consumers, these meat eaters and carnivores, they need to eat a lot more. Owls are hunting at night, and 2, 3, 4 mice, they're eating every single night. They need to continually consume because there's less energy available as they get farther down that chain away from the sun. The sun gives energy to plants, so this is where the most energy is on that food chain. So these animals, these herbivores, are the ones getting the most energy because they're going directly to that first source. So here's an example of a food chain, again starting with sun as the primary source of all energy. The arrows on this food chain show the energy flowing to this one. So the sun gives energy to the grass. The grass, when it's eaten, gives energy to the mouse. Mouse's energy goes to the snake. This gives energy to the hawk. And then we have these dotted lines, which shows an area called decomposers. So anything that dies out here in this ecosystem will have other things, worms, maggots, mosses, lichens, all those things in the decomposer end that eventually will break it down. And that's where you see this arrow. It breaks down dead plants and animals, and it returns that energy back to the soil where the process and the cycle of energy is able to continue. Okay. Looking at the next one. So a food web is a linking together of many different food chains. And this is what you'll see in a nice balanced ecosystem. So all those linked together will form a web looking type of a thing like this. Okay. Again, starting with the sun. The sun gives its energy off to the grasses, or the plants, the producers, and you can notice the difference here. The energy goes to the grasshopper, the energy goes to the mouse, the energy goes to the rabbit. Notice how at least 2 different things are linked to each thing, showing the importance of that balance in this ecosystem. Let's say, for example, I took the snake and I pulled the snake out of this little food web example. That can have a rippling effect on everything in there. For example, then, the mouse and the grasshopper and the toad are ones that the snake was eating, but now isn't anymore because there's no snake. So the mouse, grasshopper, and toad are thinking, yay, I don't have a snake. There's one less thing that's looking to eat me. And now that has an effect on everything. There might be more toads. There might be more mice, more grasshoppers. Those might be eating a lot more grasses, which means that the rabbit is thinking, oh my gosh, there's competition now for this. More toads. The spiders might think, oh, there's more toads. They're going to eat more of us. The hawk might be a little bit stressed because it used to eat the snake, and now it doesn't have the snakes, so now it's eating just mice and rabbits, which these populations will be stressed. So you can go through all of those areas and think, just by affecting one thing up or down, how much of a major impact that has on that ecosystem. I know in that video we watched yesterday, he talked about how subdivisions and developments in urban settings, how that can have such a detrimental effect to that ecosystem or a food web, as those animals are dispersed into other areas and they need to find, then they compete with others for food as they move into a new location. So, okay, so your task then, as you guys, the little PDF that you can see on this page too, it has some arrows and it has some pages of animals that you can cut out. And on that page, when you cut out, see if you can find like a nice floor space or a countertop space, arrange them, make a food web with it, and see if you guys can take a photo of that food web and turn that into the Canvas food web assignment. So, all right, again, reach out if you have any questions, but hopefully this video helped.